foggy goggles is one of the most annoying things about swimming, and there's so many myths out there as to how to stop this happening.
Yeah, you may well have heard of using saliva, buying special solutions, or rinsing out in water, and so many more, but which ones really work?
Well, to test it out, we've come down to a busy team bath to find the best way to keep your goggles clear. But before we get started, why does it happen in the first place?
Well, I think it's time we did a bit of GTN Does Science.
So when the temperature of your goggle lens is colder than the air that's between your eye and your goggle, basically moisture will form and then it condenses on the lens, causing the fogging. So goggle manufacturers have addressed this with an anti-fog system, but it does run out after a while.
So let's see if any of these methods prevent that condensation. First up, keeping them dry. Now actually a lot of goggles come ready coated in an anti-fog. And I know it's a bit of a luxury, but for that reason, I'd actually opt for a brand new set of goggles for a lot of my races, just to prevent them from fogging up mid-race. And if they fit well, shouldn't actually be any water going in whilst you're swimming. Now goggles do come in a differing degree of anti-fog, so do check that before you buy them. So today, I'm gonna try out a brand new set of goggles and completely dry. As expected, a brand new set of goggles, they were great. Now I was in quite a luxurious position before to get an endless supply of goggles through sponsors, but we're not all in that position. Buying a new set of goggles all the time is quite costly, so looking after them and keeping them dry is a really good option and will prolong that anti-fog life, but that is easier said than done. You really do need to look after them. So for that reason, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5.
Using toothpaste is a little bit left field, but I've actually read rumours that it does work. So I'm going to give it a try, and what's the worst that can happen? Surely it's going to clean my goggles and at least they'll be smelling nice. Okay, it took a little bit of time to get all of the toothpaste out from my goggle lens, but afterwards they smelled really good and the lens is really clear, and the few lengths that I've swam now I could see amazingly well, although having spoken to a few people it only lasts a couple of swims. And it's also worth bearing in mind that any anti-fog that might have already been in your goggles, the toothpaste will remove because it's an abrasive type paste. So with that in mind, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5.
Next up, saliva. Now luckily we don't see too many swimmers spitting on poolside, but are they missing a trick here? It's actually, unfortunately, a bit of a habit I've fallen into. The idea being that you create a film on the lens that prevents the fogging. And it's actually something I picked up off scuba divers. I saw them spitting in their goggles. So could we all learn something from these scuba divers? Okay, understandably, I feel pretty uncomfortable spitting into my goggles on poolside. I'm not sure there's any polite way of going about that. So actually something that I normally do is just lick the goggles and then dip them in the water. And I've got to say, works really well. So I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5.
I've always dipped my goggles in the pool before putting them on my head. I never really thought about why I did it, but it was a habit I picked up as a child at swimming club. And then it became a bit more of a superstition, so I'd have a bit of a panic if I couldn't get my goggles in the pool before racing. Now I want to know if this was all in vain, so I think it's time I tried it out. Okay, there are a couple of positives. Dropping them in the water, it cleans out any dirt you might have in your goggles, and it just helps seal them around the eye, but more than that, it doesn't really do very much because they're going to get wet in the water anyway. So I think it is pretty much a superstition that I have, and one I'm going to find really hard to break. But I'd recommend not getting into that habit if you haven't already. So I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5.
Next up, some soap. Now the idea with this is that over time, by using your goggles and touching your lenses, you get grease onto the lenses, which contributes to the fogginess that you experience. So you can use any kind of soap. You can use hand gel, shampoo, shower gel, but probably baby shampoo is going to be the kindest on your eyes if you do get near them, but please try not to. Just use a tiny bit of soap on each of the lenses, rub it around, and then rinse thoroughly. Let's give this a go. Well, my goggles are clean and I can see incredibly well to start off with, but how long it lasts, I'm not too sure. And like with the toothpaste, I probably wouldn't suggest doing this if you have fairly new goggles with anti-fog in them already, because the shampoo or the shower gel will actually break down this anti-fog coating. So for that reason, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5.
Anti-fog solution sounds the most logical, but you don't see it that commonly in pro swimmers' bags, so maybe that's telling us something. And I want to know if it's just a marketing ploy or if it really does work. Well, this anti-fog spray seems to do what it says on the tin. If you have no anti-fog left in your goggles, it replaces it temporarily. Having said that, you do need to use it regularly, and it's another thing you've got to have in your kit bag and something else you've got to go and buy. So with that in mind, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
Next up, a flame. Now it's a little extreme, I agree, but apparently some divers use a naked flame to prevent fogging in their goggles. Just make sure you allow your goggles to cool down before you put them on your face, and be careful if there's any rubber on your goggles. So stand back, let's give this a go. Okay, this is what you call an old wives' tale. It doesn't work, just don't try it. So for that reason, this doesn't even get a point, this gets a 0 out of 5.
Rinsing your goggles in fresh water doesn't sound like it's going to do anything different to really dipping them in the pool. Well, that's what I'm going to find out. Well, right here, right now, it didn't actually make any difference. It's the same as dipping my goggles in the pool water. Having said that, if you're swimming in salt water, you do need to rinse them afterwards so you don't get the dry crustiness. And also, if you are using them in the pool, rinse them after, as the chlorine will actually work away at the anti-fog. So in the long term, rinsing in fresh water will prolong the life of your goggles. With that in mind, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
Well, that was really interesting and great fun. I particularly enjoyed burning the goggles.
I saw you did.
But I'm not sure it's a great option. I think I'm going to stick to the saliva.
Well, I'm going to let you keep your saliva, and I'm going to try the anti-fog solution in the future, I think. And basically, you just need to look after your goggles and the anti-fog will last much longer. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to GTN by clicking on the globe.
And if you'd like to get hold of our GTN swim caps and the lovely towels that we're wearing right now, then you can do that by going to our shop by clicking on the link. And if you'd like to see how to swim faster with pro triathlete Lucy Charles, click down here.
And for some more tips from pros, there's a great video on hacks just here.